when we're live.
It's preparing. I think we're live. I'm just going to double check like always. I do think we're live.
As I sit here looking like an old man wrapped up warm.
Yeah.
Need like a pipe or something.
That should be the one freezing. Yeah.
A pipe and a hat.
Okay. I think. Yes, we're up. Just because people are commenting, which is good.
Which always helps, right?
Yeah, always helps. It means people are actually paying attention and watching.
Awesome.
Cool, awesome. All right, hello again, guys. I know I was chatting to you a lot yesterday for about 10, 20 minutes, talking a bit about what we're going to do today. So, Tim's obviously kindly offered to put on 2 trainings over the next 2 days. One is going to be right now, and one's going to tomorrow at 11 a.m. UK time. Hopefully yesterday, if you saw the post and saw the live we did, there was a couple of resources for you to download. If you've had a chance to do that, great. If not, I've put it in the links. I
was going to say, just grab it now. It will allow you to kind of follow along with what we're doing. This is kind of the 12-week blueprint, the one that we're giving away today.
Cool. Yeah. So if you got a chance, if you've got it already, open up that 12-week blueprint that Tim shared with us yesterday. If not, go and grab it now from that link. And yeah, I guess we'll kick things off now. I'm happy with that.
Is that your intro?
That's your intro.
Is that my intro?
Knows who you are now anyway. I'll tell you what, Tim, why don't you introduce yourself first?
All right, that's a bit better. Okay. I'm Tim Drummond. So I'd say probably I'm a coach at heart. So I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years now. Seems like a long time. Done some cool stuff in that time. Probably like a lot of the guys watching, started off in a gym. I was in fitness first back in the day. First job out of a PT school in Shepherd's Bush. Soon realised that, I wanted to get somewhere a little bit busier. Spent probably about 5 years in gyms. Then started doing some cool stuff outside in sort of private studios. I'd say I probably really made a big jump just in what I was achieving in the industry was when I went online, but probably also behind the scenes when I started to realize like actually what I really wanted to start understanding to help clients get not only a great experience, but like getting really good results. And I think one of the things that I learned when I went online is what the amount of people that you could actually help. And also, probably, if I was honest, the amount of people that I struggled to help when I was a personal trainer and when I first started being in the industry, even over those first sort of 3, 4, 5 years, I realized looking back now, it was great when I got clients that just did what I said and basically just were cooperative. And I said, go and do the workout between now and next week and do your cardio. Don't eat shit all the time. Like, I'd give them the diet plan and they would do it. And I really loved that. But now looking back, what I realized is that there was a massive amount of people that never did really anything. Like they just didn't get results with me. And I didn't quite realize it at the time. One of the things that going online is a different game, because personal training, people get really good outcomes that aren't necessarily just about results. When you go online, you're kind of a bit more naked, which is good and bad, by the way, because in the end, online is a results-based business. It's not rent a friend. It's not, and I say that a bit facetiously, it's not that you could have a client for 5 years or 3 years and they just come and get fit and enjoy your company and just love getting out of the office. It's a totally different game when you go online. So it kind of opens you up to the realization that if I really want to be known online, the first thing that I should be doing is delivering results. And especially, and I think this is one of the places we're going to start, especially if you're going towards the higher end of the market and charging more, I call it high value for a reason. you need to be delivering on that promise of getting someone results when you're not standing next to them in the gym, which brings up a lot of challenges. A little bit more. I've written some books. I've had loads of like famous clients, celebrity clients, and been on loads of media and all that kind of stuff. And I would actually say that one of the reasons that I got all that was because I was good at getting results and I did understand. I was curious. I think that's the big thing. I was always curious about how people worked. And that was even before I became the personal trainer, just really curious about the mind and why we kind of irrational, even back to when I did my dissertation at university. So, a little bit about me. Not too long, hopefully.
Cool. No, not too long. That's quite good. Very short for you, which I'm quite impressed about.
We're doing it. We're short today. We're not.
Try to keep into that hour.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I think that you've kind of hit the nail on the head about the coaching side there. That online coaching is definitely a results driven business, and it's something that I think a lot of trainers do struggle with sometimes. Moving from which normally when you're personal training, get to know people, they tend to like you, and sometimes they'll stay with you just for the whole social side of it. They like hanging around with you. And when it comes to online, it really is about getting that result for them, and that's all that really seems to matter. Which I think leads on very nicely.
Oh, and this is the fun part where I don't know if it's me that's frozen or Ash that's frozen.
Oh,
and so I might just sit here and be talking to myself.
I can still hear you.
Go on.
I can still hear you then. I can still hear you then, which is fine.
I can just sit here staring into the camera, being lost. Okay, go on. Yeah. So you were saying about the social side, and then.
Yes, so I said about how the sometimes when you're working in person. And when you start off in person, that sometimes people will stay around with you because of the social aspect. They like hanging around with you, like who you are as a person. And they have a good time when you're training them in the gym. But as most trainers know anyway, you could train people every single day inside the gym for like an hour or so. But most of the results come from what happens outside the gym anyway. And that's kind of, to me, what coaching is more about. Actually get them to take action when you're not there. And that's even hard to do. So sometimes when you bring that online, and you have no choice but to do that all the time. You have to get them to take action and make decisions and make choices while you're not there in the first place. And that kind of forces you to coach a lot more and think more about the process and stuff that you're going through. And kind of like you said minutes ago, that makes it very result driven. You're no longer selling your time of being there with them. Yes, I think it's something that a lot of trainers, especially when they first start online, do struggle with. I think it's kind of cool that you're open to sharing your experience with that, and especially these blueprints here, and also putting a great offer out for your.
And what I would say is, like, even at this point, we've kind of interchanged some words there. And I actually went away and I've done some postgrad master's level coaching diploma, and we spent probably an hour, 2 hours within that, because it's it's the kind of educational, I guess you'd call it, but it's I've forgotten the word I'm using. It's university stuff. So basically you critique certain definitions of what coaching means. So you sit there and you basically read up and you kind of have a discussion in the class or the course about what coaching means, and they have definitions there. The thing is, I could regurgitate what those definitions are, but it's just a bit like, I find coaches a bit boring and take themselves a bit too seriously sometimes. You can have these definitions and they'll go back and forth over words. But one of the things that I think is a challenge, and I said that, there was an interchange of words there. We're saying at one point coaches, and then we say at the other point trainers. And so, online training, online coaching, most people will use those words interchangeably. And I'm not trying to be a douchebag and trying to be clever or anything, but I think it is important that people do understand that there is a difference. And I think the difference is, one of the things I love about online, and I get excited about online, is that there's so many ways of doing it. Like PT is PT. Go and train a client for an hour or two, and and you might give them support and stuff. But online, there's so many different ways of doing it. And there's so many cool people out there that have a certain way that's been worked for them. You can go from one end of the scale where it's like you're scaling that to thousands and thousands of people in a program, and you make 8 figures and all this kind of stuff. But obviously that's not you interacting with the client. It's your information. And basically at that end of the market, you're selling information. And then the other end of the market is what I would call coaching. And that is, you are actually enabling people to get a result. And this is why it works so well online. That is more about what you're selling is implementation. There's a much deeper, this is just my opinion. Like, I would always start off with this. Do I care about whether my clients get results? And if fundamentally you say, yes, I do, more than other thing, and obviously everyone wants to make money, but you can make money whatever way you choose, of those models, by the way. It's like, for me, it was always like, I just love geeking out. I love understanding people. I had a massive ego where I just loved getting results with the clients that had not got results with other people. My ego just enjoyed it so much. But then it's like, I've always been a curious person. So I was like, I want to understand this. Like, yes, it's about like the program design. It's about like the macros. It's about nutrition plans. But the big key for me was like, I realized early on, and this was as a personal trainer, I remember distinctly, I was getting a bit bored as well, by the way, at this point. I was getting a bit bored with personal training in the sense that there was nothing, I didn't feel there was much to sort of stimulate me in that I was moving forward. And it was like, I was getting good at getting some results with some clients. So I was good enough to realize that I'm good. But then I had 2 clients start with me at the same time. And they were basically like the same age, same dress size, both wanted to lose 2 dress sizes, same job. They looked the same. I mean, you know, everyone's an individual. And I had them. And in 9 weeks, we sat there, and obviously the 2 conversations, because there were 2 different clients. One had just done everything that I said, and she lost 2 dress sizes in 9 weeks. So I'm fucking the man. And the other one, nothing. And was sitting there saying to me, why haven't I got results? Like what? And like, I just internalized all that at the time. And I was like, oh, what have I not done? And in my mind, the only thing that I was thinking at that point is like, what's wrong with my program? How can I train her harder? Maybe I need to make the reps more complicated. Maybe I need to do drop sets and all. And this was in person, obviously. But then I started to realize, like in that moment, I was like, no, there's something else going on here. And it's like this realization that there's this whole new world where actually, if I really wanted to become the person who was known to get result and charge for that as well, by the way, I was already charging a bit more than most people, but I was like, I didn't want to charge and then not deliver on it. I was like, something's going on here, like something else. And I just started getting into the basics at that point. It's like, I'm going to go away and I'm just going to read some stuff on simple stuff like goal setting. Now, goal setting and stuff like that is stuff that you probably would have done in PT course, in PT 101. But you kind of lose it and you don't track it and all that kind of stuff. And then I started understanding, like, it wasn't just as simple as goal setting. It was targets, checking in. And then I started to realize, like, people will tell you that they want to do this and they mean it, yet they don't follow the simple stuff like go to the gym. Like, we do 1 session, I see you next week, go and do your cardio. They'd come up with all these excuses. And I just realized at that point, there's such a bigger world here. If you really want to understand, and I realized, by the way, at that point, what I'd stumbled on is coaching. And the idea is like, coaching is not, or there's different definitions of the words that we might use it in the fitness industry, like strength and conditioning coach, that's still coaching, and I wouldn't suggest it's not, but not in the definition that I'm talking about, or this is my personal opinion anyway. Coaching is understand, it's like mindset, words like habit-based coaching, words like behavior change in the end is what it is. Like, we are all in the game of behavior change. It just happens that the behavior we're trying to change is that they're fat and they want to be thin, and we need to figure out, like, why aren't they? Like, it's don't eat the donut. Okay. And then they go and eat the donut. Told you not to eat the donut. Like, yeah. And this started really fucking blowing my mind, where I realized, like, and then I started doing it and reading it and studying this stuff and giving it to my clients. And I was like, oh my God, like, they're actually starting to do it. I start to find out things like, what self-image, like, what the hell has self-image got to do with me? I'm a personal trainer. Why am I even touching? And what you start to realize is, like, this is the realms of personal development, life coaching. Like, I've done study myself. It's like organizational change that when I was at college, I did when I was at uni. And it's like, in the end, it's just, there's so many more things that you can put into a program if you want to go at that kind of higher end level that I'm talking about. Like, my aim was always like, I want to go deep with my clients. I really want to make a real difference in them, in the sense of not only do my clients lose weight, I'm realizing that I'm helping my clients become one of the 5% of people that in a year they've kept it off. I'm like, that's what I was really passionate about. And then I realized, as I say now, I realized that's behavior change. That's what I was doing with them. Doing things like understanding, like, what even is a self-image? Like, why do we need to change that? And people are like, sometimes, I know this is the case. It's like, well, you're a personal trainer. What are you even talking about this mindset stuff for? And I was like, fine, true. But actually, no, I want to be an online coach. I want to actually, you could take the online part out. I want to be a coach, a mindset coach, whatever we want to call it, a life coach. I'm not a life coach, but I've qualified as stuff. And even if you haven't, by the way, it doesn't matter. You can still understand this stuff of like, Ash, don't eat the donut. Okay. They go and eat the donut. It's like, what the fuck are you playing at? Like, and we get frustrated, by the way. We get frustrated as trainers with ourselves, but also with our clients as well.
Definitely. So as a trainer and watching this now, and I'm quite looking to meet a lot of trainers every single day through PTD and look at their programs and what they want to do. And one of the most common things I tend to see is, the first thing they want to do is have a program delivered that is this amount of workout, doing this amount of reps, doing this amount of program, eating these macros, doing whatever it is. It's the standard stuff you'd expect a personal trainer to do when you're working with someone in the gym. I suppose the question is, how do you go then from that approach, the approach that tends to work within reason when you're seeing someone every day, you hold them accountable every other day when you see them in the gym. So how do you take it from that to actually getting that change from a person online when you're not there with them? What process, what steps?
Yeah.
Would you advise?
I think this is the term. I think there's a term called cognitive dissidence.
Yeah.
And I think, and basically what it suggests is we're always looking for evidence that supports what we think. So when I used to get results, my ego, it was there. I got results with that person because I'm fucking brilliant and I knew the best training program to put them on. No. They had already made up the decision in their mind that they were going to do this. And I just happened to be maybe a little bit better than the other dude in the gym around program design, but that's not what got them results. Not my undulating periodization, not my drop sets, not all of that stuff. Not that I knew how to tell them what carbs to eat and when and all that stuff. No, what happened is they arrived into my programs already and they'd made up their mind that they were going to do this. And I just happened to don't fuck it up, basically, was the way I looked at it. So I'll give you an example. I had a client. I was just getting into coaching a little bit. She lost 6 dress sizes. She turned up one day and she was like, I'll give you a little bit. You don't know who she is. So it was like someone in her family had passed away and she'd been to the doctors and the doctor basically said, you're morbidly obese and you're probably going to have a heart attack. It's like, you want to find a motivated client? Like, there's a motivated client. Now, of course, now in hindsight, I realized, well, she could have easily had all those problems with her perception of who she was. So we can talk about things like self-image, and self-image is just like how someone sees themselves in the world and how someone sees, like, how they think that they're seen by others. It's like fat people, I probably shouldn't be so, overweight people have a self-image that I am overweight. So I could have had all those problems with her, right? But she just did it. And I basically realized, and again, at the time, I'm like, look at my before and afters. I'm the most amazing trainer. She came to see me 3 times a week. Like, yes, she worked hard. And yes, I trained her well. But that wasn't what got the result. What got the result that she had already decided in her mind that she was going to do it. Now, we could sit here and think, well, surely, Tim, every client that ever comes to me has decided that they were going to do it. No, for starters. Some people just differ on that. Some people just pay a trainer to make themselves feel better. Some people at a level, they want to do it, but there's not a real depth there. And in fact, you could really go, I mean, I've spent a lot of time, and it depends what program you're in of mine, but we start going to levels of like things like self-sabotage. Now, again, you might have read stuff about this if you read things like Tony Robbins and you do like NLP or these kind of things, you'd probably understand the idea of self-sabotage. People like do things that sabotage their happiness. Like, why do people end up in terrible relationships? Well, there's a self-sabotage element to it. Why does someone who's a client of mine, and by the way, I'm not saying these are the conversations that everyone is going to start tomorrow having with their clients online. Why one of my clients who had something happen to her when she was younger, why did she eat as a protection mechanism to make her not feel attractive? Now, again, I'm not saying that everyone jumps in at that level straight away, but if I'm trying to fix a problem at here's the reps, here's the macros, and this person eventually tells me after 3 or 4 weeks of coaching that she's loved what we've been doing, but she noticed that she lost weight, she lost 2 stone, and then she realized that she can't get any lighter than that because she's scared, and I'm not going to go into exactly why. She told me that she was actually eating more food than when she didn't work with me because she loved the training, but she didn't want to lose any more weight. She couldn't do it. And I'm like, whoa. And this is all this world opening up to me. And at the time, I'm like, what the hell? Like, yeah, I've read about self-sabotage, but like in real life and actually going and how this affects people, like she was never going to lose weight. So the way I kind of look at it is like when I wrote my first book, like me and Phil, we spent ages with planning it all out. And we kind of looked at like maybe like 100 things that are really important about losing weight. We split it into training, nutrition, lifestyle factors, what we called like motivation mindset. Remember, this was written for the general public, and habits. We're like, these are the 5 things that we need to work on. In a gym, you work on basically training. Now, what trainers might be watching this and thinking is like, yeah, but I do nutrition and I do this and I do that. You do, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't see that from you. That they choose not to want to do that because they just see us, and they used to see me as a personal trainer, which is great, but they weren't, because in the end, why are they still fat? Because they weren't doing these other 4 things. Like they were doing the training because I was there and I was shouting at them, and I took myself really seriously when I was a trainer. Like I did know stuff. I spent a lot of money learning so much stuff about the body and reps and all that stuff. But it didn't mean I got results though. That for me was really frustrating. So I think that when you go online, it actually gives you a really good opportunity to almost take yourself away from being seen as a trainer. It's just one small part of what you do. And to be honest, it's not that, I'm going to say it, it's not that important. So if you're training athletes, it is, but you're not going to get highly paid training athletes. And you are selling information to athletes mainly because they're motivated. Don't find a professional athlete. There's a reason that they're professionals, because they're motivated. So find someone who stands on stage. They're motivated. They don't want to stand on stage. And find your normal average, which is the vast majority of the market that we're all going to work with, everyday weight loss clients. Like the training is a small part of it. The bigger part of it is the nutrition, but really underpinning that is what we'd call habits, coaching, mindset. That's what makes the difference online. You do, like, again, if we take it back to the question, it's like people assume that the reason the clients that did really well was because they were really clever with all the reps. Probably not. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make that much difference. Can't out-train a bad diet. Everyone says that. Like, everyone. Abs are made in the kitchen. We know these phrases, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you something quite interesting you mentioned there, which I quite like. You mentioned depth quite a bit there. A couple of times you mentioned about the depth of which you talk to people and the people you train with. I think it'd be quite interesting for people listening to know when a client comes on, if you get a highly motivated client like you today, has a reason, a bit like the example you gave where they've been through, because my dad had a very similar situation. He got diagnosed with angina. He was massively overweight. He was like 23 stone or whatever it was. And he had the same issue. The doctor said, you've got to do something about this, high stress levels and a lot. And he came to come and see us and said, let's do something about it. A couple of years later, he's down 16 stone, feeling much better, all that kind of stuff. And that was all because I just gave him information. I didn't really train him. I just said, go do this, this, and this. And he did it because he was like, shit, I've got to get this done. And that's great. But not, like you said, not everyone's going to get that. Most people probably aren't going to be like that. So how do you have that conversation? How do you, when you speak to your the clients for the first time, you have that consultation, you have whatever it is, how do you break that down? How do you get that depth and understanding of why they actually want to go and do this? Because I know in my experience, especially, I've had conversations with people who, I want to go and lose weight just because I want to look a bit better. But when you actually dig down deeper, there's a lot more to it than that, and it's a lot easier when you get to that level to help them progress. Like, how do you get them to that level?
Yeah, it's a good question. Is like one thing that I'd say, if we kind of bring it back to like the 12-week blueprint, one of the principles that I use, or I think a lot of people use, is what's called minimum viable dose. So it's like, what's the smallest thing that you can ask them to do that's going to make the biggest difference? It's like a lever. So, what's the smallest bit at this end that has the biggest effect at that end, right? It's a tiny little movement there is a really big movement there. And so one of the things that we understand is like, we take this step by step. So the big shift, and this is not about sales and marketing, these two trainings, but one of the things that you need to do, and by the way, you should want to as well, is that you need to understand sales, because much of this is done in the sales call. So let's just be clear. Someone sent me a message the other day about like, do all your clients do sales calls? Most of my clients charge quite a lot of money. So you kind of mentioned how much that was. Do any of them? I'm like, I can read between the lines. And what that really means is I'm scared of getting on sales calls. He won't say that to me, but that's really what's being said, because he's looking for a way. How can I charge a lot of money and not do sales calls? Because I'm too scared, basically, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but generally I'm normally right with these things. And it's like, well, you can't, and you shouldn't want to, because actually higher ticket, part of it is the transformation happens in the sales call, and the transformation happens when someone gives you their credit card details. So the first time I ever paid proper money for coaching, I spent $5,000 on an 8-week program. Fuck me, can I swear?
Yeah. Past the threshold.
Right, okay, well, I've done it anyway. I'd shit myself. I was like I was calling myself out. I remember about a week after I loaded in, and that was a lot of money at the time. I was going home, I got off the tube, I was walking up Highgate where I lived, and there's Sainsbury's up the road. And the metaphor in my head at this point was like, and I was getting in shape at the time, by the way. I was like, I knew I had to go and get some chicken. Like, fuck. I'll go and do it tomorrow. I was like, Tim, you won't know. Because I know I won't, because I say that in my mind. And every single time in the past, I wouldn't have. And it was exactly the same thing when I got home, because I actually did. I went and was like, it was like 5 minutes. I was just being lazy. And then I got home and I was like, I've got an email. And I was laying in bed and I was like, fuck, I've got to send that email. And I was like, my brain, my subconscious was like, I'll do it tomorrow. I was like, no. That, in my mind, that has cost me £100 a day. And I know my old behaviours would have been, yeah, maybe send it the next day, but then it might have been the next day and the next day. It's like, no. So I actually got up out of bed and I went and I sent the email. And it was just a metaphor of like, it changed my behaviours. So one of the things that higher investment does is that it changes people's behaviours, but also what it does is if someone isn't, if there's not enough of a desire to change, they just will say, no, I don't want to do your program, which is perfectly fine. Kevin Nations puts it quite well. He talks about like where you put your offer in the market, people who desire that result and value at that price point will meet you there. So if you're putting out stuff at 100 quid, someone who values the result in their life at 100 quid will meet you there. And that's cool. If you put it out at 2K, someone who desires the result and is willing to invest 2K will meet you there. So first of all, you have to have sales calls. And if you do charge more, like obviously I'm not saying just go and charge more and don't deliver on the value. You should do that. But you will notice when you start to charge more and you learn how to help people make that decision on sales, straight away they're in your program and they are more, it's like a gatekeeper in some way. Some of that starts on the sales call. Like I will ask people, and by the way, I'm not suggesting that everyone would start here. It's your call. I'll ask anything I fucking want to ask on a sales call. And my rule is if I would ask them this in the coaching program, I will ask them on a sales call. So I'm already know before they've even come into my program what the real motivation is. And I'm not having, I just want to lose weight. No. Like I'll ask them like, why do you want to? You talked about self-confidence. Have you got a partner? Yes. How do you feel around your confidence with your partner? And I'm pretty good at, I've learned how to read people and sell. So I know when they, and eventually I'll be like, you know, we'll have a conversation about their sex life and I don't care. If they don't want to talk about it, fine. But actually, if you want to really understand the motivation of why people want to lose weight, marketers will tell you it's getting laid, getting paid, and not dying. Like, people don't buy not dying, surprisingly enough. So it's generally something to do with getting laid or getting paid. Like, they want to feel, and I'm being a bit crass, but it's like, maybe it's just, I want to feel better about myself. I want to feel more sexy about myself. I want to feel better about how I am with my partner. Maybe I'm single. Maybe I want to go out and have more energy. Maybe, and these are all the things that we will help people understand. So they'll come into week 1 of your program and you've already helped them see and be honest with themselves of what their desire is to do this. So then it's much easier at that point because you've already had some of these conversations. And then it's about, like, Google motivational interviewing. It's like, this is what you're doing. Like, one of the principles away from just that blueprint of coaching is like questions, the answers. So if you were, for instance, if you're going to do my stuff in my programs, you would record your sales calls and you'd listen back to it. And if you're talking for more than 10% of the time, you need to change that. You need to learn to ask questions and listen intently. Coaching is the same. If you were to record your coaching calls, the training we're going to do on Friday is giving people a 9-box structure of how to run a coaching call, exactly what to do. It's like a little sort of snake thing, right, through these. I would also be listening back to those. And it's like the difference between, another principle of the difference between coaching and training is telling people what to do. Coaching is asking them the right questions. So together you can come up with their plan. Now, that is a big shift, a huge shift that people may not have made, or hopefully understand why I'm saying it, or they've done it. Jed is a great example. I spoke to Jed, I don't know when it was, years ago. And just a couple of things, he blew me away when I actually spoke to him about 18 months later. Because I remember him saying to me something like, oh, I'm one of these guys that everyone, you know, they know I don't take shit, all this sort of stuff. And I was just like, oh God, you know, he's going to shout all his clients. No wonder, like, he can get frustrated and that. But then 18 months later, he's turned around to me and he's going, oh my God, this stuff is just amazing. Like, I've learned it. It's hard because you want to tell clients everything, because as a trainer, our job is to tell people what to do. Cool. Just try it differently and start asking them, what do you think you could do? Like, if you've got a current client, start a conversation. How happy are you with the results you're getting at the moment? And they'll be nice to you and they'll lie, by the way. Okay, cool. Like, I get that you're being really nice, but I remember when we first started, you said that you wanted to lose 12 pounds. Is that still the case? Yes. Cool. What can we do together that you feel can help us get you that result? And then they're always going to make you feel good. So, okay, what specific things do you struggle with the most? How do you think we can fix that? Like, oh, I don't sit there and go and train. No shit. How can you make that happen? Like, oh, I know I need to train outside of your sessions. Resist the temptation to go, yes, you do. Right, here's what you're going to do. Just go, okay, cool. How do you think we can make that happen? What help do you need of mine? Like, it's all questions are the answers. And that's a big difference between coaching and training. Because if we go back to that 12-week blueprint, like, week 1, here's what I do with nutrition planning. Turn up to week 1 with 2 days food diary. Now, the old me would have, like, at some point, I want to write them a 12-week nutrition program because I'm fucking clever and I know the best. I know all this stuff. Now I'll be like, okay, and I'll screen share it with them with the 2 days of foods that they've taken photos of. And I'll go, okay, cool. What's your thoughts? And that's all I'll say. And normally 9 out of 10 times I get the client laughs. Like, it's kind of like a sort of semi-embarrassed, okay, this is quite clear why I'm fat kind of laugh. And I'll be like, okay, what are we going to change? Tell me 2 things we're going to change in this first week. Like, I don't even need to tell them anything because most of the time they'll come up with an answer that is good enough. So another key principle of this is good enough is good enough. So let's take that to say exercise week 1. So look, there's a reason why you're in my program, okay? Because obviously things haven't been where you want, and that's totally cool. That's why we're here. Tell me on average how many times you've been active, worked out, exercised each week for the last 6 months. Look, I'd always got, look, by the way, I know it doesn't matter where you are. That's why you're here. So just give me an idea, because you don't want them to feel like you're telling them off. And they'll normally go, maybe once. I'll be okay, cool. So how about this? In this first week, what we're going to do is we're just going to keep increasing how many times you're active. Ideally, if you could, how many times would you like to be active each week overall? And they'll tell me. I'll be like, okay, cool. And if they're stuck, I say, okay, look, think about it like this. If for the last 6 months, if you had worked out 3 times a week, do you think you'd be in a better position than you are now, weight-wise? And they'll say, yes. Be like, okay, so how about that? We're going to aim to get you from not training at all to training 3 times a week. We're not going to do it straight away, but would that be a good place for you to be for the long term? Yes. Do you think that would be manageable? Yes. Okay, cool. So last week you didn't train, and again, that's cool. How many times do you want to train this week? And I would ask them, what do you think they say at this point, Ash?
At this time?
Yeah.
So you broke up a little bit then.
How many times, what do you think they generally say to that when I say, how many times do you want to train this week?
Sorry, normally they'll probably say a high number. That's what I normally got. And then it's not a realistic number.
Yeah.
So they'll probably say like, oh, I want to do 4 or 5 times this week.
I want to do 5 times a week. I'm like, whoa. Like, okay, so look, and again, there's a reason why I use this blueprint, because one of the principles of that blueprint, which is kind of the reason that blueprints are great and things like that, is it's the meeting between, say, skills and systems. Everyone wants a system that works online. Gus D'Amato, who was Mike Tyson's trainer, said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I remember seeing a dude called Julius Francis, who somehow ended up in the ring with Mike Tyson. He was some bum that was, I think, a British champion. And it was like, I remember seeing an interview, he goes, he trained for 3 months. He got people in that were like really big, that punched hard, but he got people in that moved loads. He goes, there was nothing that I could do to prepare for the first time he punched me in the face. He goes, it was like a sledgehammer, and I've never felt anything like it. It's like, we all want a script. We all want the way of doing things, the system. But coaching is like an art as well as just a science. So we need to understand like what to do, but we need to use our own kind of ways of having these conversations with people and moving people at the right pace. And obviously the other challenge is some people might have trained twice a week for the last 6 months. Some of them might have not trained for 6 months. Some of them might have never trained. So the way I kind of created that 12-week blueprint is, the first thing is I want a checkpoint at week 4. And all I'm trying to do at week 4 is to get that person to train 3 times a week for 45 minutes. So it doesn't matter where they've started from. I just want to get them to that point. And if I can do that, I know I've now got 8 weeks to move them to a place where maybe it's 4 times a week. Doesn't have to be, by the way. It could be like, people can lose weight 3 times a week, 45 minutes, no problem at all. So again, one of the things with the blueprint is like, well, okay, they're already training 3 times a week. Fine. Don't worry about it. That's not where the problem lies. Like, and you know, the point of like good enough being good enough. Back in the day, what other exercise are you going to do this week? Zumba. No, Zumba's terrible. Zumba doesn't work. Like resting metabolic rate, you know, blah, 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 epoch, all of this stuff. I'm like, stop being a dick. Now I would be saying stop being a dick. Like in week 1, how many times do you want to train? 5, or sometimes like whatever they say. But okay, cool. How about this? Last week you didn't train at all. We're saying that by week 4, we want to get you to training 3 times a week, 45 minutes. How about this week we just get you training twice a week? Twice this week. Okay, yeah. Cool. Awesome. What do you enjoy doing? What do you like doing? Like, in a way, and I think we talked about this the other day. Well, no, it was on another training I did. I don't really care what they're doing in week 1 exercise-wise. I really don't care. I just want them to feel like they're winners. So I want them to turn up to the next coaching call having achieved what we've set. Because it's all right if we just delve into like what self-image is and kind of some stuff on
that.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Got a bit of time.
So like, if you look at, say, I grew up in a council house. I had free school meals. I used to wear my brother's clothes that were bought for him from a jumble sale. I don't even know what the American version of that is. So I can say what the fuck I want about this stuff. Yeah, what are they called?
Garage sale, is it?
Yeah, you know, I was like a proper little fucker. And poor people are poor for a reason. Is because they have a self-image that they are poor. People who win the lottery, who are poor, often end up poor again. Well, why is that? Well, because you could say, well, they don't have good money management skills. Yeah, fine. But they have this self-image, and self-image is just how people see themselves. If you want to change someone and make your job easy and stop them, why aren't they doing this stuff? We need to understand things like self-image. Like, we need to start shifting how someone sees themselves. And subconsciously, if we move away from what our self-image sees us as, it feels very uncomfortable, and we will subconsciously sabotage ourselves to go back to what feels in alignment. So if we are, for starters, by the way, most of your clients won't even know what this is. They might not know that it's the truth. And you might be sitting there watching this as a trainer and going, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, which is fine. So there's ways that you do this, and there's ways that I did it within the structure of my programs. I can tell them what is going on, or I can just do it to them and help them change their perception of who they are, giving them feedback loops of, like, you know, how they're changing. So I can shift someone's self-image without them necessarily knowing that's what I'm doing. Now, it's up to people where they want to have these conversations. And so if we can shift someone's self-image in a program, you're going to, I mean, here's the thing. I got a lot of referrals. I got a lot of rebills, people spending a lot more money. I used to do a 12-week front-end program for 2K, and then a year program, which was 8,000, and that's pounds, which is a lot of money. But my clients, they changed. Something fundamentally about them changed, and they knew that, and they felt that, and they wanted. There's a connection that you develop with people when you coach them that's way more powerful than you would ever get in person as a personal trainer. And so one of the it's not in this 12-week blueprint. There's two versions I've got. More advanced level, brings some coaching models in, and simply one of the things, is kind of long way to answer your question that you talked about as well, is like, one thing that I do with them very early on, usually week 3, is I ask them to complete a document which is called Who Are You? Now, sometimes people feel uncomfortable doing this. Like, a lot of the mindset stuff, a lot of the coaching stuff, people find it a bit woo-woo, or they find it weird, or that's not what I need, all that kind of stuff, right? But often it's that they're scared. They're scared to actually look at themselves and just find out anything. People don't want to know about, like, their own thought processes. They feel naked. They don't want to. Some people, like, I've asked to do this in the past when I didn't quite understand this. And all it is it's two sides of a document. And one side is just questions. And it's things like, how do you eat? How do you work out? What do you think about your body? Give me some words to describe your body. What are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you like about yourself? What are your kind of questions? Very easy to answer, or easier. And then I ask them to turn the page over. And then on the other side of the page, it's just like, write a story of who you are, a character description of who you are. Because the reason I'm really doing this, by the way, is I want this part, which is the who they want to become. So if you Google coaching, there's this thing called the GROW model, which is basically, where are you? Where do you want to become? Where are you? Where do you want to get to? And the bridge is your program. That's what the bridge is. So really, I'm more looking at this part, but I start them with this because sometimes even that's hard. So then I'm like, I do almost exactly the same thing, but I ask the questions in the sense of, and I say to them, this is the ideal version of you. How do you eat? How do you work out? How do you feel about your body? Give me 3 words to describe your body. These kind of things, right? I'll ask you this question, Ash. How do you eat? How do you think people answer that question?
Well, or not very well.
No, in the future, remember, this is the person they want to become.
they want to eat this. Nobody would say, I want to eat really good food and I want to feel really good. That's what I would say.
I mean, who writes, I want to eat donuts and I want to eat pizza and I want to feel like shit and I want to... No, they say green, organic, local, freshly prepared. Yeah. Sometimes they'll be like, oh no, but I want to be able to have a treat every now and then. I'm like, okay, awesome. So what we're already doing there is we're starting to create a self-image of who the person wants to be. Now, they won't believe, or you don't even need to have these conversations, that that's who you're working towards. But you get feedback loops in this stuff as well, where you start to see people change. And I'll give you the best example where this really hit home with me. I was still training people in person. And I just started getting like, I'm trying to think of a word, a phrase that gives me an idea of what these are. It was like, I just started getting clues that this person's behaviors were changing. They started to enjoy the gym. They started to go on their own. They started to turn up to my sessions feeling like they wanted to be there. They'd lost weight. They just started being nicer to themselves as well and started being kinder to themselves and not so hard on themselves. And they would turn up and they'd be like, oh, and this is a little thing that I would really advise anyone to do. How did you get on this week? I lost 4 pounds. Ash, what's the first thing that you say to that person? Did you get me? Did you lose me?
So I've lost you again, Tim.
Cool.
I think they can see you. I said it's really bad. They can actually see you because it's coming through on my phone. Okay, I just seem to keep breaking up. For me.
Okay, so I'm going to go again, right? So let's move it online. You do a check-in with someone and you say, "Hey, how have you got on this week?" Or they reach out to you and say, "Ash, I've stepped on the scales this morning and I lost 3 pounds." What's the first thing that you say to them?
No, I'd just say, if it was me, I'd just say, hey, well done. So what can we do next?
Cool.
Where we're going to go next. That's
awesome.
What I
so here's what I might do. How are you feeling about that? So that's what the first thing I would say back to them is, how are you feeling about that? Because telling is selling, right? And what I realized is like, I want to give them as many frames of reference that they're doing well. I want them to believe it though, not me tell them. Because what I'd say at that point, they'd be a bit coy and they'd be like, I've done all right? And I'll be like, I don't know. What do you think? And they'll be like, yeah, I've done really well. I'll be like, and then at the end of that little conversation, I'll say something like, you're right, I agree with you. Because all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to steadily, bit by bit, change the self-image, change the self-belief about themselves. And it would be like, I'd get things like that with him. So he'd lose weight and I'd be like, instead of like, we really want to intrinsically say, well done and high five people. But I was like, how are you thinking about that? How are you feeling about that? I'd always resist the temptation to say, well done. Now I would do it at the end because they need recognition from you. And then I just remember sitting down with him one day and I just felt everything really seemed different with him. So I got these 2 sheets of paper out and I asked him to read them both. And I was like, do you remember writing them? And he said, yeah. And I just said to him, which one are you more like? And he just looked at me and just started crying. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And he just started crying. And I was like, and by the way, by this time, this might feel like that is something that people would feel a bit uncomfortable doing. I'm not saying you jump straight in to do that, but it's like, he turned around and I said, tell me what's going on. And he just opened up to me and he's like, it's the first time in my life I've ever believed that I can do this. I've always hated myself. And what I've realized now is the reason why I ate rubbish was because I hated myself and I didn't love myself. And I've started to realize that I really care about who I am and I don't want to put shit in my body. And I was just like, fuck me. And I remember walking away from that and I was like, fuck, if I can have that effect on people, like, you know, this is good for starters. And I know that made him change his whole belief system about who he is. And so if I want to motivate people, motivating is not like, it's changing them internally. It's the difference between an intrinsic drive and an extrinsic drive. An extrinsic drive is me saying it to him, me shouting him, you being a personal trainer and standing there over someone, do another fucking burpee, do one more. If you can do, one of the things I do in my program is I teach people something called athlete's mindset. And I'm like, I'm going to get that person to train harder on their own than they've ever trained with a trainer. And that's my ego again. And I will do it because there's ways of intrinsically motivating someone that they want to do it, and not just because someone's telling them to do something. That makes a difference with people as well. Go on, give me some more questions, Ash. I'm talking later.
Yeah, sorry. I say it sounds really weird, but you're literally like 4 or 5 seconds behind what I'm hearing all the time. It's so strange. Just for me. Honestly, it's weird. Very strange. So one thing I like to, because obviously I'm quite aware of time and stuff. We've got about 10 minutes or so left.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot there about coaching in general, and the approach that a coach would have over, say, like a trainer would have.
Yeah.
I think something that gets brought up a lot with me, especially when I'm working with people, is if someone's to offer a high value program, they struggle sometimes to, the best way to put this, feel like they want to put lots of information in all the time.
Awesome.
Which is, and obviously talked about how that can be probably a bit of a disservice, because information doesn't really mean much. The information is available everywhere, no matter where you go. So based on that, how is them as a trainer themselves, how do you get from that point where, okay, I feel I'm charging this amount of money for this program, I should be checking them every single day, I should be doing macro count with them, I should give them these programs, I should be doing this, and this. How do you go from that to, okay, I'm just going to have these questions this week, or okay, don't worry about it, don't worry about what's going on, we'll talk about it at the end of the week, or how do you tell someone who's just paid you $2,000 that all I want you to do this week is take photos of your meal for the next breakfast and lunch, and then we'll catch in the week? How do you move from shit, I've got to give all this information to them, to actually I need to just do something simple, not even tell them, just need to ask them a few questions? And how do you get from that to the other? I know you've got my delay now.
I have.
I don't know if you got that or not.
I got all of it, yeah. I get the gist of the question.
Sorry.
So the words that I always hear is, how do I justify charging more? How do I justify?
That would be the quicker way for me to ask that question.
Yeah. No, I liked your way of answering. These are the words people say to me. And I'm always like, when someone says to me, oh, I just don't know if I can justify it. I'm like, well, Kevin Nations again says that the only thing people care about is the transformation they've experienced at the end of your program, the result. They don't care about anything else. Go to a dentist, right? And you go to a dentist and it's like, I've got this toothache, I've had it for 10 years, goes away, but then it comes back. It's wrecked my life. It's wrecking my relationships. It's stopping me making money. I just feel terrible about myself, all this kind of stuff, which is kind of what you've done in a sales call, right? And then he turns around and goes, awesome, I can fix that. It's going to take me 15 minutes. It's going to cost you 500 quid. And you're like, what? 500 quid for 15 minutes? That's £2,000 an hour. And then the dentist might turn around to you and go, well, look, if you want, I can just take your tooth out. I can make it take 3 hours. And do that. People, no one wants you as a personal trainer. I'm a coach. No one wants to do it. If they could do it, they would do it on their own. We're a necessary evil. Like, stop taking ourselves so fucking seriously. People don't want to buy our shit. They just want the result at the end. So number one is get over your own ego. Like, get out of your own way about the things that I'm good at. And this is a shift as well, by the way. Like, I'm not suggesting it's not. I am a coach. I'm not a trainer. I was a trainer at one point. I needed to shift my own self-image about what I did. Now, that is not necessarily the thing that you're going to do straight away. You need to understand that there is a different skill set of a high value online coach than there is a personal trainer. It's a different game. It's a different thing that you're doing. So a trainer is there to train someone and entertain them for an hour. You charge per hour. A transformation program, which is how I would suggest you always do these 12-week online transformations, it's about the result. I don't care if it takes me 20 minutes and that's all I ever do, and they miraculously drop 20 pounds. Like, that's not going to happen. But this hit home for me, actually, when I started that mentorship program that I was talking about. And then week one, I'd spent 700 quid, and this is what I'd got. Post on Facebook, how much money do you want to earn? That was it. I was fucking fuming. I was like, oh my God, I've wasted all this money. But I was like, no, I'm going to just do what he said. I posted on Facebook. A week later, I had $6,000 in my bank account because no rich people are on Facebook. Okay, no, that's not true. And I got a client, and it was like, fuck. And that, in reflection, was like, he told me 2 things, nothing else. So your job as a coach is to help people implement stuff, not overload them with information. Now, of course, there's ways that you have to learn how to help clients see that, because your clients aren't me. They're not going to be this aware, but there's simple ways of doing it. Like in a sales call, what have you tried before that didn't work? What have you tried before that didn't work? What else? What else? What have you tried? Why didn't that work? Now, of course, you're doing that because when you make your offer, you can separate your stuff from everyone else's. But let's say in week 1, they pipe up, or week 2, they pipe up, and you can normally feel this, by the way, the more you do this, that they're like, well, is that it? It's like, look, I get the feeling that you want me to give you some more stuff to do. Well, it's like, imagine someone telling you, Ash, you weren't in the industry, I've just hired this coach, I paid him $2,000, told me to walk around the park 3 times for half an hour, drink more water. Like, and
like you've been ripped off,
like,
mate.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, like, yes, this is a very real worry, and your clients might have some of that. If I'm feeling that, or they say it, and it's normally that I feel it because they probably won't verbalize it straight away, I have to get in front of that. So in the first coaching call, I'm saying, hey, do you remember we talked about all the stuff that you've tried before that didn't work? Just remind me of some of those things. Why do you think it didn't work? Oh, because I'm always that all or nothing person. Okay. And then I'll be like, okay, go on. And then we say, oh, I've tried it. And I'll just get them to, I would be indulging this, by the way. I'm trying to pull it out of them. So, okay, look, do you think that you seem to have said that you've tried this like 5 times? How about this? We decide, you just paid me a lot of money. I'm the expert. How about we do it my way? And just, I know there's going to be times where you're feeling like, surely it can't be this simple. And I'm not saying it's easy, but we're going to do it differently. And what we're going to do is we're going to change 2 things each week. Do you think, and this is one of the frames that I'll use, do you think if we can change 24 things about your daily habits 2 a week, do you think we're going to get you nearer your weight loss goal by the end of the 12 weeks? And they'll always say yes. I say, cool. So look, I know that sometimes this is going to feel like we're not doing stuff. And I know that you probably want to change everything, right? But and I'll do things like this. I'll on purposely go slow and be dumb, and I'll get them to finish it for me. I'll be like, that Einstein quote, what is it? Doing the same thing, and they'll fill it in for me normally, or if not, I'll just carry on. I'll be like, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. But like, how about that? We're not going to do the same thing again and again. We're not just going to change everything because you've told me that it became overwhelmed and when you went back to normal. So it is your confidence as a coach and your certainty which these people need to see. So, of course, I've done this enough times that it's total certainty. Where that certainty really comes in, you have to borrow it a little bit at first. So you might have to borrow it off me or people you're learning from or whatever, your opinion as well. I think you agree with a lot of this. The time that it really comes in is when you've had people through your programs and they turn around to you and they say, oh my God, I can't believe this has been so, it's not been easy, but so simple. Why did I struggle all those years? Like, they can't get it. They're like, you just told me to like walk around the park and like eat more, like, I don't know, drink water in week 1. So a lot of this is frames of reference. One of the things that I would do very quickly is before the first call, they get an email from me telling them what we're going to cover in that first call and how long it's going to take. Because the first call is normally about half hour. So a key principle of kind of things like persuasion is that people know what to expect before they get there. So if I tell them on the email that this is going to take half an hour, I haven't just sat there in them. Because remember, by the way, if you're nervous as a coach about doing coaching calls, think what your clients are like. They've got no fucking idea. It's actually, if you look at, say, how it affects your brain when you're in this kind of part of your brain that's very fight or flighty, they can't actually communicate with you properly. So by framing the conversation before, that takes them out of that part of their brain I'll give you an example, Ash. I don't care if we talk about this. If you're going to walk up, I know you're happily married, right? If you were to walk up to a girl in the street because you want to stop her and talk to her, why would you say, hey, look, I can't stop. I've got to meet my friends in 10 minutes.
If I wanted to pull them.
Yeah, of course. But the science behind that is because what you're trying to do is you're trying to take them out of this part of their brain where they're thinking, oh my God, I don't know what to expect.
Oh yeah, you're trying to basically, you're trying to remove that. Sometimes if you go up and chat to somebody like in a bar or whatever like that, and you do that, you get on with that girl or whoever, they're already going to have this kind of barrier up. They're going to think, actually, I'm already going to put a barrier up because I think they're going to do
They've got
this.
all these frames of reference of some weirdo who's following them around. So
by getting in front
of that, by you just say, I can't stay long, I've got to go, I've got to be with my friends in 10 minutes. So straight away, it actually changes the part of their brain that they're thinking from. So it's the same with coaching. So you tell them before the first coaching call, this is going to take half an hour. You tell them at the beginning of the coaching call exactly what to expect. At the end of the coaching call, you say, do you have any concerns? You get in front of it. You say, hey, look, some of my clients in the past left this first call and they go, oh my God, it's almost tomorrow they wake up and it's like, hang on a minute, my coach has just told me to drink more water and walk around the park. Surely that's not enough. Is that going to be you? No. Why not? Because I know I trust you. Okay, do you really? Yes. Okay, so we're going to do it my way. Yes. Awesome. And then like your question about how do I make sure that they don't, when I say make sure, here's my opinion on this. I don't want my fucking clients coming anywhere near me between the coaching calls. And the reason is because I want them to know that they can do this themselves. That's the real skill of a coach. It's like you enable your clients to be able to do this. If you say things like, oh, you get 24-hour access to me. It's like, why the fuck would they want 24 access to you? Like, you're not doing your job properly. Like, none of it. Like, now, I'm not saying, by the way, if they have to email me that I wouldn't get back to them. I would. But I frame it in the right way. And I say, look, I will get back to you, but it will take 24 hours. Is that cool? Yes. Because I'll give you another example. I had a client called Bunmi. And week 3, she turned up, she was so excited. And I was like, what's going on? She goes, oh my God, this week's been so amazing. I was like, okay, go on. And all I'd asked her to do was to put her breakfast in MyFitnessPal. That's it. Minimum viable dose. It's like, just put it in. Not even like the whole day. Not here's your diet plan. Just track your breakfast. Tracking your breakfast is a 20-minute job. Tracking food through the whole day is a 14-hour job. Subconsciously, we think it's easy to track your food during the day for the whole day. It's not. At first, people get overwhelmed. So 20 minutes. Now, some clients will self-select. She goes, and then she just started going off on one. She's like, so this week, I went in on Monday. I know you said I only put my breakfast in, but I put everything in. And then I realized on Monday that my lunch was really high calories. Like nothing in the restaurant that day was less than 900 calories. And I hadn't set her macros, by the way, or given her any idea of what calories. She goes, and I know that I need to do like 1,800 calories or whatever. So the next day I went in and still there was nothing. So on Wednesday I went to Marks and Spencer's and then she started getting all excited going, oh my God, do you know what great food you can buy from Marks and Spencer's and you can get lunch for under 500 calories. And I'm just sitting there like, I didn't say a fucking word, by the way. I was just listening to this. And she's like, you know, and I've figured it out. And look, this whole last 3 days, I've ate really well. And this is so amazing. And Marks and Spencer's is so good. And look, I've done 1,500 calories and I've lost 2 pounds. I was just sitting there. I was like, okay. I'd literally done nothing. All I had done is framed the calls before that to say, we're going to make sure that you're the one that's leading this. I'd given her confidence when she made decisions on her own that they were the right decisions, even if they weren't perfect. So one of the things trainers do is they expect and want clients to do everything perfect. It's like, it's not that important. Like week 1, get the client a result, get them a win. That's all that you want them to do. Because if you want to change self-image of someone, don't keep reminding them that they're not good enough and that they're a failure. Don't keep saying and being micromanaged. Let them make some little kind of, you know, if they want to do Zumba, fine. I know by week 12, I want a program design and I want them to get lifting weights and all that, but I'm okay with where they are. I've got checkpoints, remember. So, the justification is a shift in what your skill set is. And the skill set goes from, I'm just going to tell people Sometimes, by the way, you need to let clients get there. It's going to be taken them just a little bit more time than you want it to. Like, one of the things I say is, like, I run all my programs at the pace of the slowest kid in class. And what I mean by that is, yes, maybe some clients, if I'd pushed them quicker, might have got there a little bit quicker, but I don't want to lose those clients that need to take step by step. Some of them do self-select, and I do have an ability to kind of move it forward towards the end of the, remember, you've got 12 weeks. Like, if you can shift 2 things each week, you've got enough levers to make such a difference. £1-2 a week, as opposed to £3, £4 week 1, nothing. Then you don't hear from your client, and then they disappear, and then the PayPal send you an email saying your client's cancelled, and you wonder what you've done wrong. And you gave them all the macros, and you gave them the program, and you did everything, and you're internalizing it and beating yourself up and knowing that you need to go and get new clients. And all along, actually, if you had just realized behavior change, like, what we think is simple to them is not. Like, you almost need to treat them, this sounds a bit patronizing, like they're dumb, like really slow. Like, so for instance, MyFitnessPal is a great example. And this is newer, by the way. I didn't used to track calories, actually. And people can have a discussion about, like, is it just calories in, calories out, or whatever. But fundamentally, if you can get someone to confidently track in MyFitnessPal, not lie to themselves, not lie to you, get it done by week 6 or 7, those clients are going to lose a lot of weight. But what the problem becomes is, most trainers think that, oh, my client said that they were eating 1,500 calories. They're lying. Now, they're not. They don't know how to use MyFitnessPal. They probably lied to you once, and they don't know what. So all of these things, if you can just get your clients to accurately use something like MyFitnessPal, again, this is just implementation that we're selling. They'll lose huge amounts of weight. Week 1 in the 12-week blueprint, which people have got access to, the first thing that I do with MyFitnessPal 1 week is I just ask them to download it. Nothing else. Just download it. And I'm not at this point even saying what your nutrition plan is. I'm like, just download it. The next week, just plug your breakfast in. That's it. I said it's a 20-minute window, not a 14-hour job. Then the next week, plug everything in. I've still not given them loads of guidance, though. I've still not given them a nutrition plan. Most of my clients wouldn't get a nutrition plan until at least sort of usually about week 5 or 6. And even then, it's as long as they're basically hitting their, and everyone has a difference of opinion. So, which is why the blueprint's set up like it is, because you might have different opinions on training and nutrition protocols than me. That's why it's like that.
I was very similar. I used to wait till probably even later, like 7 or 8 weeks out before I used to even introduce things like calorie counting on that. Like, I used to use photos quite a lot, get them to become aware of the food.
I did used to as well. I've actually changed my mind on a lot of that. And again, this is just my opinion. I used to believe a lot more in food quality. I actually still do, but I also fundamentally believe in food quantity much more. Yeah. And also I've realized
it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I used to think that food quality had such an effect on hormones that it would make you hungry, that it would make you do all these behaviors. What I've realized more now, I still think that's true, by the way, some of it, but that's a coaching problem. Like, if someone overeats, most of the time they overeat because of what's going on up here. Like, there's a reason they overeat. And it's normally filling something, self-image, self-worth, how they feel about themselves, this kind of stuff.
It's like most things, isn't it? If you look at a lot of things like the hormone side of stuff and things like that, to me, it's fine for certain people, but for the most part, that's not going to be the issue. It never is going to be the issue. Like, you've really got to get to the fundamentals. There's no point looking about the quality of food and the effect on the hormones if, Joe Bloggs is eating 1,500 calories above what he should be eating. He ain't going to lose weight.
You're not going to argue for thermodynamics. Now, one thing that I would say, if people look at the blueprint, I do actually work on breakfast, lunch, and dinner, though. So again, I'm not doing. A doctor would say this, like if you went into, imagine you went into a doctor's and they asked you like a question, 2 questions, and then they gave you these pink pills, like, I don't know, you had a boil somewhere and it was about to fall off, right? And you're like, and you might take that because you're in a lot of pain, but you might think, well, hang on a minute, he doesn't know anything about me. He's giving me like 2 questions. And now a trainer would be like, oh yeah, but I have this big extensive questionnaire that I give them in week 1, and then week 2, I give them their food plan. Yet, and I even ask them, what foods do they like? I even ask them, what can you do? The clients will not understand their own abilities to follow a program. I remember years ago when I used to run a functional medicine business, and this was, again, when I was just getting into coaching, we had a client and we were doing some stuff. Again, these clients were weight loss, but also other things as well. And she needed to go on an elimination diet. And the guy that I used to work with, really knowledgeable guy, amazing guy, I don't quite think at that point got coaching. And he's like, okay, I want you to do this program. She was going to Coachella music festival. And I was like, dude, she's not going to do an elimination diet in Coachella. And he said to her, can you do it? And she said, yes. And he's like, and that was it. No, and of course she didn't do it. So even if clients tell you, no, I can do all that, that's not the truth. They don't understand their own ability to stick to this. They overemphasize what they think they can do, which is why they've always failed in the past. So it's your job. Like a doctor would say, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So I'm actually not really giving them programs probably until, like, I generally don't give them a training program. I don't know, like, depends on the individual, obviously. The one thing that I want, and this is in the in the blueprint, is that I just want them to have certainty. So as long as they know exactly what to do and what's expected of them, which is, okay, so tell me what your aims are for this week. Ash, if I say that to someone and it's week 1 and they turn around and they go, I don't know. What's that telling me?
It tells me they haven't really got a clue what they want to do and they're panicking. Basically, they have no drive. They don't know exactly what they want to do.
Or we've not listened at the same levels. They're nervous. That's probably right. So then what do they do at that point? They're like, oh, and they feel a bit embarrassed. Like, and I was like, okay, so look, here's what I remember. We said you were going to do this, this, and that. Is that correct? And they'll say, yes. How are you going to make sure each of those happen? And I'll get them to tell me exactly how they're going to make. Oh, good question. Well, I'm going to book in for some Zumba classes tomorrow to go on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Cool. And then the last question I might say at some point in that conversation, like, is there any reason you think that those 3 things can't happen? Oh, maybe. You know what? Actually, sometimes I get stuck at work. Okay, so what do you think we can do? Well, how about if I go in the morning? Okay, I don't know. You tell me. Like, I don't know the solutions to them. All the solutions always lie within. So I might get them to like week 5 or 6 where I do start realizing this is the place where I need to bring a bit more information in. One thing that is really awesome about that blueprint as well, if you'll notice, the level of compliance towards the end is much higher than most people would ever be able to take their clients on a journey through. So what I mean by that is if they're a fitness competitor, of course you can get them to train 5 times a week and track all of that. If they're a normal person, and because I worked with brides, it did make this a bit easier for me. I had a client, she basically like sat on a sofa. Right? That was it. She didn't really go to the gym ever. By the end of the program that we worked together, and this was back in my Poliquin days, she was doing fasted cardio in the morning, pushing her stroller or buggy around for an hour, training 5 times a week, tracking her calories accurately, doing 1,500 calories a day. This was at a time where I believed in carb backloading. So meat and nut breakfasts, pretty much eating a similar amount of food each day, the same things, like amazing compliance. If you're going to spend like a year learning all of these amazing nutrition programs and stuff, none of your clients are actually ever going to follow them if you can't understand how to. That 12-week blueprint allows you to go to town towards the last 4 weeks. Like you can really start, because what you've done is you've enabled clients to just bit by bit take this on board. It's like if you were going to learn a language, you learn dog, cat, yes, please, no, 1, 2, 3, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You don't start learning like fucking War and Peace or shit like that. So it's always step by step.
With fire hose, isn't it? Sometimes, like it's almost like to go to like a client and saying, "Here's everything," with a big fire hose, and you think you can't do that. You know, it just becomes too much, and then the adherence just drops.
And what happens is the adherence drops, and this is how it. So if someone's watching this and they think that maybe they think this might be happening, or maybe they're unsure, right? Here's the symptoms: you lose clients really early, and you don't know what you've done wrong. Your clients aren't getting results and they're complaining and moaning at you. You get frustrated because your clients fucking wish they would just, if they just did what I told them to do. Yeah, what? Like you wouldn't have a job. Like you wouldn't have a job if they just did what you told them to do, because everyone would just go and do it themselves. Like that's your job. They can't do it on their own because they would have paid. Like that's the thing, right? So yes, of course, like, you can't figure out why your client's not losing weight. They step on the scales, they do their reporting, and it comes in and they're at the same weight. And your way of dealing with that is that you think you need to complicate their program. No. It's exactly the opposite. What is it? I can't remember the guy's name. He's like, the only simplicity to be trusted is the other side of complexity. For me, that just means like, I have to learn all the simple stuff. Then I learn all this complexity stuff. Lots of complicated stuff. And then I start to move through that as a coach, an online coach, where I start to realize, actually, my skill is to know the smallest amount of things that I need someone to do to get a result, not the most amount. I don't need to justify myself by anything but the result. And I think that is a real learning. Like, and where you'll really see that, by the way, is doing this, is going out and changing your fundamentally, Jed. Like when I spoke to him like a year and a half later, and we talked and he said all the stuff that he's been doing, I was blown away. I was like, fuck me. He's actually gone, and he goes, I found it really hard. I stopped telling my clients what to do. Like when they were struggling, I'd sit down and I'd ask them, and some of them didn't like it. And he held his nerve, and he's like, and now you look at the transformation of the results he's getting with his clients and just talking to them about this stuff. It's just like how excited he was when we were talking about, like, my God, clients get it. Like the result, my portfolio of case studies is fucking awesome. Just simply because I really simplified things, and I didn't think that I needed to justify anything in the end.
Sorry,
are we going to finish?
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Are we getting any questions or anything? Because we said that we wouldn't be much longer than an hour.
I know, so we're just going to have a little bit. No, I mean, most things I think we've covered about already. Like a lot of people asking about that justification of coming over and then how to break it down, and also getting people to adhere to that kind of stuff when you're doing small bits. I think we covered most of that anyway, which is cool. I think what would be kind of cool is to kind of recap with one. You know, these guys. If you watch now, you've obviously got the blueprint. If you haven't, and you wonder what we've been talking about or what Tim's been talking about for the past 40 minutes or an hour. You can download it. It's literally in the link above there. So make sure you get hold of that as well. It's going to be really, really useful, and it's going to work alongside this video here. I think what would be kind of cool is just maybe if you could give maybe summarize this in 3 kind of top things, like 3 things they could do, or like 1 sentence each. Like what would be the key thing to do to really implement that blueprint and make the most of it when it comes to become more and training. Cool.
I'm going to give you 3 principles of that blueprint. Number 1 is and it's not about principles of coaching. I'm talking about more just using that in your own business. Get the idea of checkpoints. So if you're bringing clients on board, first of all, like what we've talked about, a lot of this is based on higher value coaching where you're going to be doing Skype calls with your clients. So yes, you can take a lot of the principles that we've talked about and you can put them into videos and help you become a better, whatever you want to call, I'm not going to use the word coach, but help become better at selling information-based products, like an application of that. You definitely can. And you can use that in your videos. Like one of the things that, you know, I like PTD is because it's so flexible. You could take that blueprint, and when you've learned how to use it and you've had 5, 6, 7, 10 clients, so you can start automating that into PT distinction. It works really well. But we're talking about like the more higher value, you're going to do coaching calls with clients. So that's the first thing. Then it's like, okay, I just need to understand. And there's 2 sales here. I would say there's 2 sales on every sales call. First of all, it's to yourself, and then it's to the client that you're working with. It's a bit like that with what we're talking about. There's 2 sales here. I can sit here and we can have very much the same opinions, which we do, but other people need to just get the belief that this is the way that they want to do things. If it's not been working so far, or you want to get better results, like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, what do you think is going to happen? Mm-hmm. So it is a commitment to, I want to actually be an online coach. I want to understand coaching, right? That is a good place to start as far as I'm concerned. A curiousness. I'm fascinated by this stuff. So if we look at all of that, we can say, well, the first thing is like, we've got time. If we've got confidence that we can just get someone to that place in week 4, we've got another 8 weeks, like £1 to £2 a week. The vast majority of our clients, depends if they're normal weight and not crazy big weight, American big weight kind of thing. It's like £1 to £2 a week. Most clients, when they leave your program at the end and they're not like £500 and drink too much pop, it's like 18 to £25. Most clients will absolutely love that. And I would ask most of the guys on here, if you could kind of get 90% of your clients losing that kind of weight, do you think it would do good for your business? Probably. So checkpoints, number 1. Second thing is minimum viable dose. What's the thing that you can do that is the smallest effect on their life that has the biggest effect on the outcomes? If you look at this, it's kind of like at this end with my little finger, that's process, which is what you do to put in inputs. That's output, which is results. Like, what's the smallest thing? Like, I'll give you an example. And I generally would do this with men, maybe not women, but it depends on people's perspective on this stuff. Intermittent fast your clients. They're men, get them to not eat breakfast. Straight away, the calories are going to go down, right? And again, that's just a perspective, right? If whether you believe in that stuff or not. It's a small change that's going to have a huge effect. So minimum viable dose, not I want to show them how fucking good I am at program design because I fucking geek out of this and I love to train like this. And I think the way that I'm going to value myself is, and I've seen this, and I'm going to be honest, and this, I'm sorry if anyone's listening and this is them. I see people in PTD, and again, it depends on the type of programming they're doing, so I'm going to accept that. It's like, how do I do all these complicated drop sets? I'm like, don't. It's not the problem. Don't. Unless you're selling them like automated programs. And again, some people aren't going to agree with me on that, so that's cool. But it's like, that's not the problem. Like, figure out the problem doesn't lie in, is the reason that they're overweight because they've not been doing drop sets? No. The reason that make it simple, 3 sets of 10 on every single exercise that they ever do with you. You don't need to go any more complicated than that. Like, it's just not that important. So minimum viable dose. And the last one, it's not kind of something I've said specifically, but it is covered in the blueprint. Start slow, finish fast. So start slow, finish fast. If you look at that blueprint, you can fucking finish fast. And as in, you can really make a big difference towards the end there. Like, the weight loss isn't going to slow down. Like, because by the end of those weeks, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you start. I'd have clients like this. They'd email me, what can I do this week? Can I do extra cardio? I want to go and do cardio every evening for an hour. Now, if that's week 1, no. This was week 9, 10. Cool. That was my job done. Yes. Went and did it. Because again, I'd enabled him to get so motivated about what he was doing. So start slow. Like, don't lose people at the beginning. That's your fundamental job, because that's where your business will live or die. And by the way, all you end up doing to these people, which we should have a concern for, is that you just confirm that self-image that they're losers and they're failures at this. And that's not good. That's not what we should want to do. We should do exactly the opposite. Like, as long as you've got to checkpoint, you've got till week 4 to get them to a certain place. Week 1, yes, you want them to get a result and you want them to lose a couple of pounds, but just get them a win. Like, make them feel like they can do this. Like, help them just turn up that second week and say, I achieved the goals that we set. That's really all you should be wanting to do on the first week. So there's kind of 3 things.
Perfect. Also, so checkpoints, minimum viable dose, and start slow and finish fast.
Yep.
Pretty much. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I think that's been some awesome stuff there that's come out, which is really, really cool. There are some questions that come up as well, but they're more actually to do with what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So we don't really go into too much detail about them. People
cool. Tell me what the questions are, though, so I do know them.
Like, what are some of the first questions you could ask your clients to see where their mindset is? What kind of stuff would you cover when you're having conversations with them? So I suppose I guess we're really going to cover those tomorrow in tomorrow's training.
Yeah, we can do that. We're going to cover basically tomorrow on, like, and when I first learned and started doing this, I had a really good coach. He taught me how to sell stuff and how to market. And I remember getting the first time I ever got on a coaching call, it was just like, had no fucking idea what I was doing. No idea at all. And I charged a decent amount. Had a little bit of confidence just from doing a bit with in person, but it was like, if someone had actually said, okay, here's the template of what to do and how to structure that conversation, not here's like a script, but you need to make sure that you cover these 9 different things and check them off, I'd have felt a lot fucking better, a lot better. And I think I'd have made a lot more money quicker, because even with me being reasonably confident about doing this stuff, there's still a fear of, like, the last thing I want to do is sell someone into a program that charges a lot and then I've got no clue what I'm doing. So the structure that we'll go through is like what to do on the first coaching call, because that is fundamentally different to some of the other later ones. And then it's like what the differences are with the second coaching call, and almost the second one onwards, that's where you create a system, basically your own system, where clients almost like end up knowing what to expect from the calls. Like, they know how the calls run. They feel it's just awesome. Like, you know, there is a couple of levels to this, by the way. And there's the levels I teach in the different programs that I've got. Some of the more advanced programs, it starts to get a bit deeper with a bit more deep coaching that we've talked about. But the first level will get your clients a result in that 12 weeks by just following the, you know, do this, say this, not say this, but this is the thing that you need to be discussing, followed by this, followed by this. So there's kind of 2 things there, 2 structures, but they're similar-ish. So it'll be the first coaching call, which is really important, because you need to frame the whole conversation, and the first impressions count, right? And then it's like what to do in the second coaching call onwards.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, perfect. Cool. So that's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. UK time. So that'll be obviously live in the group, just like this one, so you can come and check that out. For this one, again, there's a link up here to download the blueprint that Tim's been talking about today, and tomorrow as well, when we'll put the post resource for you to download as well. And of course, you can get both downloads from the post we put up yesterday as well. One thing I do want to mention as well is Tim has also very kindly put an offer out for everyone inside PTD. I'm going to let him quickly recap what that is for his online coaching machine. But yeah, it's a very unique offer that is going to go out to everybody else eventually, but this is just for you guys at the moment. So
yeah, so the online coaching machine is basically everything that I put together over sort of a development of what I've understood over the last 3 or 4 years of originally being a really successful, results-driven online coach, getting really good results with myself and my own clients, and then teaching other people sales and marketing, which is cool, and it is, and you'll learn how to sell at good prices and get paid what you know that you're worth. And certainly the know what you're worth, taking your skill set from the gym and moving it online, and still feeling like you can go out and justify charging that sort of money. So you get loads of stuff, cool stuff around how to sell, how to market, where to get leads, understanding your avatar, all of that kind of cool stuff. But I think the big difference with the online coaching machine is, like, I am a coach at heart. Like, hopefully, like, people have, but you might have watched this last half hour or an hour and just thought, this makes no fucking sense to me. I have no idea what he's talking about. Cool. Or you might have been like, actually, I want to know how to get results like that. I want to know how to help people that other trainers haven't been able to and get paid for it. And so a big part of the online coaching machine is how to get results online. Like, I'm happy to do all of this cool stuff and give as much value away as free. But sometimes people would also want to be able to have like their hands held, like, okay, Tim, I've got a client. This is the struggle. What do I do? Or this is what's happening with my client. And so the online coaching machine is kind of all that stuff that I developed a year and a half ago, a year ago. You would have had to pay $4,000 to do my mentorship.
Yeah, at least a year ago.
Ash is in the online coaching machine. So, it is a program that you do in your own time at your own pace. So, people are like, well, why is it so much better value? Fuck it, I'll say it. Why is it so much cheaper? And it's like, well, because it's your stuff. Here's the stuff. I'm there to support you, but it's in your own time. Like, one of the things about my mentorships were very much like, go and fucking take action now. You've got 6 weeks, you need to go and make some money. And people generally did. But this is kind of something that people might want to do if they're like, they want to learn how to get results. They want to learn how to create their programs. They want to take their time a little bit more. But then other people are like, bang in there and they want to go out and get clients straight away. Maybe you've already got clients. You've already got an online business and you just want to know, well, how can I charge more? And how can I feel like I can justify that value as well? How can I get more leads and all that kind of stuff? A lot of it's where to start. Where, if I'm not doing online, where to start. By the way, this is not right for you if you want to do 1,000 people in a program, charge $97 and never coach your clients. That's not this program. There's loads of other people that do that cool stuff. This is about like depth and understanding the psychology of how do I help my clients without standing next to them. So the program is $197 a month in dollars. It's about 145 quid at the moment, which is great value at any time. One thing that me and Ash talked about was like, I know some people might just want to see what it's about and what I'm about. Hopefully they've kind of learned a bit today. So we are going to do a free trial, which has never been done before. And this is not a marketer talking. We might not do it ever again. We're going to see. I'm literally being honest with that. We're going to see what happens if we do it. And if it makes sense to us, we'll see. But anyway, it goes out live officially to the public on Saturday. No, Friday, late Friday.
Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah,
Tomorrow?
it is. So we are limiting this to 30 spaces. So if you want to get involved, please do. You can cancel at any time. Like, you just need to let me know and I'll cancel it. So it's 3 days. So basically, if you're like, Tim, I've seen your stuff, I'm just curious, I want to see if it's right for me, then cool. You want to come and have a look around, cool. If you decide when you're in there, Tim, this is a load of crap and I'm not interested, no problem. I'll be totally cool. You just cancel and it's all good and we're high five. If you get in there and you think, actually, this is something that I want to do, we'd love you to stay on. It's $197 a month in dollars. Most of my clients, there is a rule here. I mean, it's sort of $600, $700, $900 minimum. I wouldn't suggest you charge any less than that for your programs. So generally, most people start charging around sort of $800, $900. Some people jump straight in at $2,000, sometimes $3,000. But that's not the normal. Most people make their first, if they need to create their programs, they do. And they generally make their first sale around week 4 to 5, something like that. So there's a decent return on investment as well. It's $200. If you do come into the program and you stay, there's no contract. You can leave at any time if you want. Most people stay a reasonable amount of time because I do go in. You don't get mentoring from me directly, i.e. we won't have one-to-one calls. Clearly not possible. But I do go in and I do answer questions in there. And I do go in and do live question and answers every other week. I do also have people that are old clients and Phil, who I've written 2 books with. So we do give interaction in there, but it isn't a mentoring program, obviously, for $200. It just wouldn't be. So does that cover everything, Ash?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing I will say is, as Tim mentioned, like I'm inside the group that's linked with Online Coaching Machine, and the results that people are getting, and the kind of group itself, and if you actually just spend 5 minutes in that group and see what people are doing and what's happening from this, you'll be amazed by it. And just from that alone, you can see the value that this can bring you. So it's definitely worth checking it out. If you
look, here's me being honest. Here's what we're doing, Ash. Everyone, I'm going to be honest. Like, I want you to go in there and I want you to think this is fucking amazing. Like, I want to learn more about this, and you can get, there's so much value in there. a reasonable amount of people decide at some point that they want to get mentoring one-to-one with me. You don't have to, and some people don't, but some people do. Like, that's what I love doing. I love mentoring people one-to-one. I love coaching. I like helping people, trainers, figure this shit out in their own brains as well. It's kind of what made the difference for me. So it is a total, it's a no-brainer. Like, my hope is that people come in there and some people feel like this has just opened my eyes to this whole new world. That's when we have conversations, and that's when you get your fucking checkbook out, and it's fucking expensive at some point. But yeah, the first thing is just really, it's great value. It really is. It's great value. It was great value before a few $1,000s. Now it's great value at $200.
Yeah, definitely.
And you get 3 days.
So if you're interested in that, yeah, 3 days is that. There's plenty of time to come have a look around, and I think you guys will love it. Again, the link for that's just above us now on this thing. So cool. I think that covers most things today. Again, make sure you go and check out the Online Coach Machine. Make sure you download that blueprint if you haven't done already, so you can make sense of half the stuff we've been talking about. And then again, this will be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. The next session.
Ash, we're keeping it to an hour, right? So we're not going to do. We did an hour and a half.
We've been like an hour and a half now. So
we did do one that was 3 hours once. You do know that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're not doing 3 hour one. No 3 hour one tomorrow. All right, cool, awesome.
Right, thank you.
Again, thank you very much, guys. And I'll, I guess me and Tim will see you all tomorrow
In a bit.